Imagine you go to the wedding of one of your old friends. There you see a friend from the school, that friend who used to be the most simple and nicest person in your school or college. The one everyone used to say would never harm anyone in his life. Now, on the wedding night, drinks are on the peak. The groom's friends are gathered together, jokes and laughter begin. Suddenly someone says, "Let's have some fun tonight. We're the wedding guests, guys. Let's make the groom feel powerful." At first, it starts with casual teasing, shouting at the caterer, insulting a waiter, saying things like, "Do you know who I am? Go and ask your father." And you see that same simple friend of yours, who used to work as a salesman in a clothing shop, now drunk and trying to look like a hero in front of his friends, pushing a poor waiter and mocking him, just because he feels that today his friend is the groom. So whatever he says today is the law. The same boy who couldn't even raise his voice at someone yesterday has turned into a small monster with just a little bit of power. And this is not just about weddings. You see people like this in offices, school, or in friends' circle. The same person who used to sit with you at tea and complain about the boss suddenly starts shouting at you the moment he becomes a team lead. The person who used to stand in line with you at a government office suddenly begins making 1,000 excuses to move your file once he gets a small chair of authority, until you learn to speak his language. So the question is, did these people suddenly become bad? Or was there always something dark sitting inside all of us that comes out the moment it gets a chance? You think you're a good person. You believe your principles, your morals, and your upbringing make you different from the rest of the world. You think the people who commit crimes, the dictators who oppress others, or the boss who makes his juniors' lives miserable are the bad ones, and you are the good one. But today I'm here to break that illusion of you. I am sorry, but the truth is, you are not good. You are just constrained. You are good only because you have not yet received the kind of power that would reveal your real face. The day you get complete freedom to lie, the day you realize nobody is watching you and nobody can punish you, that is the day the animal inside you will come out, an animal that might even scare you. There are a lot of evidence in history, and the darkest experiments in psychology have already shown that the difference between humans and animals is just a thin line. And that line is the fear of consequences and the fear of punishment. Now remove that fear, and you may end up doing exactly what Hitler's soldiers did in World War II, or what the most toxic manager in your office does. Now listen to me carefully, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you something about yourself that you've probably never clearly seen before. And if you don't understand it, there's a high chance that in the next 5 or 10 years, you will either become a monster for someone or end up living under one. The world teaches us to be good and help others, right? But no one teaches how people who look good slowly start rotting from the inside. How family, systems, offices, and society slowly break a normal person until he becomes part of the very thing he once hated. Now understand the problem. Most people believe they are good, and you probably think the same. You may be thinking that, I don't lie, I don't hit anyone, I don't steal anything, I don't mock or tease anyone, so I must be a good person, right? But this is an illusion, because you judge yourself by your intentions, while the world judges you by your actions. There is a difference. For example, you may be giving a false report to your boss because you have no choice. Now this is your intention, but your boss will not judge you by your intention. He will judge you on what you have done. Inside your mind, you are still a good person, but for the other person, you are a liar, a coward, or even an oppressor. And honestly, this is exactly how people become monsters, by thinking they are good while making small compromises again and again. Since childhood, we are taught one simple lie that, be a good person, tell the truth, and do good for everyone. In middle-class families, these values are drilled deeply into our veins, but then we grow up and see reality. In the office, promotions don't go to the employee who works day and night. They go to the flatterer who praises the boss and criticizes others behind their backs. In weddings, respect doesn't go to the relative with a pure heart. It goes to the one with the big car and the huge bank balance. No matter how that money was earned, no one cares. And yes, it makes you angry when you see people taking advantage of your goodness, but you stay silent. You swallow it. You tell yourself that God is watching everything. But in reality, your dark side doesn't die. It just hides. And the day it gets the chance, it comes out with so much disaster.
Have you ever noticed that the people who are the most oppressed in the office often go home and shout the most at their wife or children? Why? Because they couldn't show their power anywhere else. So they show it where the other person is weaker. That's the transformation we're talking about. Now, what I'm about to tell you is something 90% of people don't know. And if you understand it, you'll not only recognize the games others play, you'll also recognize the dark part inside yourself that has been quietly sitting there. Because everything you've heard so far was just a trailer. Now, I'll tell you about an experiment that the world eventually banned, because the results were so dangerous that even the scientists became afraid. The year was 1971. The basement of Stanford University in the United States. A psychologist named Philip Zimbardo placed an ad in the newspaper. 24 normal college students were selected. Their backgrounds were checked. None had a criminal record. None had mental health issues as well. And all were from middle-class families. Then they flipped a coin. 12 became guards and 12 became prisoners. A fake prison was built in the university basement. The guards were given uniforms, black sunglasses so their eyes couldn't be seen, and a baton. The prisoners were given strange clothes, and their names were taken away. They were only called by numbers, like P819 and P432. Everything was fake. It was just an experiment, but listen to what happened in only 6 days. By the third day, these normal college students who had become guards were forcing prisoners to strip naked, making them clean toilets with their hands, and psychologically torturing them. One prisoner had such a severe mental breakdown that he had to be taken to the hospital. By the fourth day, one guard refused to let a prisoner go to the bathroom. Humanity had already disappeared in just 4 days. On the sixth day, Zimbardo's girlfriend, who was also a psychologist, came and said, "This is no longer an experiment. This turned into torture, so it must be stopped." 24 normal students had transformed in 6 days, not into monsters or demons. They were still human. They had simply been given roles and authority, and that changed everything. So think about it. These boys were not Nazis. They were not criminals. They were ordinary students just like you. So what made them monsters? The answer is the system and the role. When society gives you a role like boss, police officer, or a teacher, you begin acting according to that role. Your personal humanity slowly disappears, and you begin using the power of the uniform. You've probably seen this before. Even a security guard standing on the road sometimes talks to you like he's the king of that place. Why? Because at that moment he has power, and you have no choice. So the first lesson is this: authority kills empathy. And if you think you would never behave like that, you're wrong, my friend. Another psychologist named Stanley Milgram proved that 65% of people are capable of killing someone under one condition. An authority figure tells them to do so. In Milgram's experiment, participants were told to give electric shocks to a person in another room whenever he gave a wrong answer. The shock levels ranged from 15 volts to 450 volts. The man receiving the shocks was actually an actor, screaming in pain and begging them to stop. But the participants kept increasing the shock. Why? Because a man in a lab coat stood behind them saying, "The experiment requires you to continue." They heard the screams, they knew the pain, but they kept pressing the button again and again because they believed they weren't responsible. The authority figure was responsible, and I'm just following orders. And the shocking part was 65% of participants went all the way to the lethal 450-volt shock. The same thing happens at your workplace. Your boss tells you to do something unethical, fake a sales report or lie to a client. And worst part is, you do it. At that moment, you do exactly what those participants did. You shift your moral responsibility onto someone else and turn yourself into a machine. Now listen to me carefully, because if you understand this point, the filter through which you see life will completely change. No order from any boss, leader, teacher, or a political figure is above your own conscience. Authorities are followed mostly by people who are afraid, weak inside, or running away from themselves. The people who say, "What can I do? This is what the system is," are the same people who later become the system's most powerful weapons. The next poison is dehumanization. It means stopping seeing the other person as human. When you reduce someone to a label like just a maid, just a driver, or just a migrant, you forget their humanity. And once that happens, hurting them becomes easy. Look around your own homes. How many times have you seen a housemaid not even allowed to sit on the sofa, while the family dog has a reserved seat on it? This is mostly common in countries like India. In offices, someone shouts at a security guard because he opened the gate a little late. In government hospitals, nurses sometimes treat patients like files instead of people. Once you divide the world into us and them, your empathy dies at the moment. And once empathy dies, what will stop the monster from coming out? Over the years, you slowly become someone that your younger self would be ashamed of. This is called moral disengagement. Your mind creates excuses that make your bad actions feel normal. Like when you are on the edge of committing something bad, your mind may tell you, "Everyone is doing it, then why I can't?" These are the lines spoken by a mind that doesn't want to see itself becoming a monster, so it fools itself. Now think back. In the past 1 or 2 years, what actions did you justify to yourself, even though you felt a small sense of guilt inside? That was the beginning of the devil appearing itself, but the darkest part is still left. Now let's talk about the man who understood all this most deeply, Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychiatrist. Jung said that every human being has a shadow. The shadow is the dark part of you. It is your suppressed desires, anger, jealousy, and ugly impulses that you hide even from yourself, so that you can continue believing you are a good person. But the shadow never disappears. It waits. It waits for the right moment, the right power, the right crowd, and the right excuse. Have you ever felt anger or jealousy so intense that it surprised you? Have you ever said something in anger that you later regretted? Those are the glimpses of your shadow. If you leave it unchecked, it grows. Jung believed that if you honestly admit to yourself things like, "Yes, I feel jealousy," and "Yes, sometimes I hate people," then you stop becoming a slave to those emotions. Because once you acknowledge them, you gain a choice. You start using your emotions instead of letting them use you. The people who believe they could never do anything bad are actually in the greatest danger. So what is the solution? Should I tell you to simply be good and help people? No. If you avoid harming others only because you are weak, then you are not good. You are harmless. A rabbit is not virtuous because it doesn't eat wolves. It simply lacks the power. Carl Jung once said that no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. The real power is not in pretending to be good. The real power is recognizing the animal inside you, looking it in the eye, and keeping it under control. Accept your shadow. Stand in front of the mirror and admit, "Yes, I feel jealous. Yes, I have a monster inside." The moment you accept it, those emotions stop controlling you. Psychologist Jordan Peterson describes this idea as being capable of violence but choosing peace. A harmless man is not strong. A dangerous man who can control his danger, that is true strength. Become strong enough mentally, financially, and socially. Strong enough that you could crush someone if you wanted to, and then choose not to. That is real virtue. That is the real power. Society doesn't respect people simply because they are good. Society respects those who are powerful and fair. The greatest power is not controlling others. The greatest power is controlling the animal inside yourself. So, remember these 3 final things. First, you are not as good as you think. You also have a shadow. With enough anger, jealousy, or power, you too could do terrible things. The person who accepts this truth becomes safer because he keeps watch over himself. Second, systems, roles, and groups can use you. Bosses, leaders, families, religions, or ideologies can manipulate your fears and emotions to make you do things you once opposed. Third, every single day you have a small choice. To do a little right, show a little courage, treat someone a little more humanely. The Russian writer Alexander Solzhenitsyn once said something profound. The line between good and evil does not run between different countries or different people. It runs through the heart of every human being. That line is the password to understanding your life. Inside you lives both the monster and the hero. The system will not decide which one wins. You will. And remember, the biggest monster is not the one you see outside. The biggest monster is the one growing quietly inside you, without you even noticing. But now you know. And knowing is the first step. The rest is in your hands. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next amazing episode.